So let's get our country details page alive and get some content in there. So first things first, we need to start by rendering the path and get the details of that path. So for each country we'll have a country details. If we see here, if you go back, so every page we click, or every page we'll click, it will take us this country name.js, and this one through dynamic routing. So for each country we'll have a country details. So in the build time, Next.js should create a route or a page for each country. So as you know, the Next.js is runs in the server side and then we load it on the client side. So we need to let the Next.js application know much before it runs in the browser how many paths you'll have, how many routes you'll have, how many pages you'll have for every dynamic navigation. But our app at this time does not know what details will be rendering, as these details are coming dynamic from our API. So it doesn't know anything. It waits for this API to render, and then from there we get all these details. So, and that only happen after we call the API and we get our countries list, which we don't have. When you navigate away, you don't have anything here yet. Okay, it's just a plain page. There's no details there about your country details or how many routes will be there or how many pages will be there. So we need a way to tell our application that there are this many routes and these many pages that will be rendered and needed the details of the country, and that will be expecting to display in our UI. And all these things we have to tell our application during the build time, not during the rendering in the browser. It should happen much before your application hit the browser. These routes need to be known to your application before you navigate to them even. So in Next.js we have something called getStaticPaths. So before we use getStaticProps to call the API, now in the dynamic page we use something called getStaticPaths. So what I will do, let me start writing the code so it makes some sense. So export again const, but this time we'll be doing getStaticPaths. So this one will tell the path that I needed in my dynamic component. So this one will be also a sync function. And here again, as we said, we need to tell our application what route is expecting. We know those details are coming from the API that we called earlier. Again, we have to call that again in this component, but inside getStaticPaths. So const, I'll just copy paste that API again. So get response here. Where we return the path. So this function will return an object, okay, which have something called paths. So these paths need to be an array and need to be an array of objects. Okay, so object 1, object 2. So and each object, it is a path. Okay, and each object should have a field called param. Okay, and inside your param will be also an object, and inside your param you'll have this name here that you put here, which is from your country name. I'll copy and paste it. It should be here, and then it have the actual value. Okay, so how we can build this? So we'll build this path array from this data response, right? We know it's coming from the countries list in the previous page. So we'll call that API again and we'll build our path from that one. So the way we'll do it, just like normal in JavaScript function, you'll map. So paths data we map, and we know it will be an array of countries. So each country will return an object which have param, and that param is an object as well which have country name, which is same here, and that country name will be basically from the country.name.common. Okay, so that's what it will be. And here we'll come back here in the end. I would say return paths, and we can do this, and because from it have same name as the variable, I'll just keep it like this. And then there is another another field we send as well, which is called fallback. We should go through it later of this course. So fallback means if someone entered here something else which is not none of these named countries, I don't know if it's someone did ABC, it should throw them like a 404 screen, any error screen handler. So that will be true, and then we have to handle it. But at this point we will not do that. So I'll save this for now, and I'll just try to run my components if everything's still working. Refresh. Then click. So this is taking time. I will go through performance later because there's so many countries it has to load. So it's saying getStaticPath was added without getStaticProps in country/country name. Without getStaticProps, getStaticPath does nothing, and there is a reason why. So when we do the static paths, we pass the path, but we don't render anything yet. We are not using that data, and that's what we do in the next hour video. We'll see how we can pass this country name to our getStaticProps again here. So call the second API, which is country by name, to get the details of that country and display to the customers or to the users. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.